Good evening. Welcome to this third session in the ParentAID Ed support sessions for parents. My name is Simon Kay and I am Head of Digital here at the college.
And my name is Jake Barnes and I am Head of Virtual Learning at the college.
So today we're going to talk to you about blended learning. And after we've talked to you about blended learning, Mark and Becky will also talk to you about what our Catch Up to Education programme and what that is exactly. So, blended learning. What is blended learning? So, blended learning is this idea that we learn, that the curriculum is delivered through the use of both physical lessons in physical spaces and lessons in a virtual setting. So, online learning and face-to-face learning. And then we've obviously had to do an awful lot of work on kind of blending those two environments together to produce the curriculum plan and to deliver the learning that your sons and daughters are going through now. But why? What we're going to focus on today is kind of like the online aspect of that, because that's what I think we need for you to understand a little bit more and you can support with. But why is that online aspect and online blended learning important, Jake? What do you think?
So I think that using the digital tools that we do for online learning means that our learners, your sons and daughters, they are developing some really, really vital digital skills. And these skills are incredibly important just for preparing for the world of work. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, is to prepare these young people for the world of work.
Yes, definitely.
And the tools that they're using help them to do that. So things like communication, vital skill in the workplace, professionalism and learning to work in that professional environment, all of these aspects of things that your son and daughter will be practicing in our online lessons environment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we use a platform called Microsoft Teams. It is industry standard. Virtually all businesses out there are using it. And we're also using Microsoft Office 365 applications, really, really important skills. So not only is your son and daughter learning the curriculum content, learning how to become a bricklayer, learning how to become an accountant, they're also learning these additional workplace skills that are really, really important to them. And we think this is a really powerful tool. So we're going to give you some tips today. That's kind of what we're here for, is to try and give you some ideas as to how you can help your students engage in this online aspect of blended learning. And we're going to start by going through five tips really, and we'll frame everything through these 5 tips. So here's what we think are the most important things for you. The first one, timetables. Make sure that you know when your son or daughter has lessons, especially the online ones. That's going to be really important. Tip number 2, ask them if they are confident and know how to access their online learning sessions. That's also important. Can they access these sessions in Teams? Point number 3, ask them if they are comfortable engaging with these online sessions. Jake's going to talk a little bit more about that. Point number 4, ask them if they have engaged with any pre-learning or consolidation tasks before or after these online sessions have happened. We'll talk to you in a bit more detail about that. And then the last one, which we're going to talk to you a little bit about, is also about supporting your son or daughter by providing them the best home learning space that is available to you in your home. So those are the 5 things that we're going to cover. Now, the first couple I'm going to cover off by sharing my screen with you. So if you just give me a second, I want to do that now. So hopefully you can now see my screen, and this is my login to Office 365 to Microsoft Teams, and this is what Microsoft Teams looks like. Now, we don't have time today to go through all the aspects of this. This is not a training session on Microsoft Teams, but I just wanted to show you how these learners will actually be experiencing and accessing the learning that they have online. So the first thing that you need to take note of is kind of like this. This is the navigation bar. So if you click into Teams, this will bring you into this area here, and then your sons and daughters will have 3, maybe 4 teams. When they go into one, this is what one will look like. And if they've got an online session planned, it will look like this. So you can see here that a meeting has been scheduled, and this is a course that I teach on. and this is one session that has been set to be delivered. And simply, all that the students have to do is click into the session here. It opens up this space, and then they can just click on this join button up here. So that is it, really. That's how they will access. That's how it will be timetabled for them, and that's how they will access the meetings in Teams. So I think it will be quite important for you to make sure that your sons and daughters can do that. The next thing that I want to talk to you about, and we're going to come out of that now, is point number 3 here. So key point number 3 is about how comfortable learners are with engaging with the learning. And Jake, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Simon's just shown you the Teams environment, and once learners join a meeting, as it's called, and their lesson, then there are a number of different features and tools within Teams that they can use. And the teachers are very skilled in using these tools, and some of them are just very basic ones for Teams. Things like using cameras, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment, or using microphones, so a teacher could pose a question and ask learners to turn their mics on and answer the questions. They have a raise a hand feature, so if learners want to ask a question themselves, they can raise their hand just as they would do in class. And then there's a chat function as well, which teachers use extensively for posing questions, for learners to communicate, and just to respond with basic emojis or text. So those are just some of the basics that Teams has. But as you've said, you know, we are a Microsoft Showcase College. We've got some really skilled teachers, and they're using a whole raft of different tools to check engagement and to engage with learners. So your sons and daughters will experience very different tools being used in different online lessons, all to help them to engage and to check engagement.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing, is that when you're having your conversations with your son or your daughter, it's just about asking them how they are engaging with that learning. Is it through breakout rooms, or is it through using the hand up function? How many opportunities do they get to engage? And I think that's important it's an easy way for you to kind of assess whether or not they really are getting into the online learning.
Absolutely.
Point number 4, this is about consolidation tasks, and also about pre-learning tasks. Now at the college we have a model, and that's essentially broken up into three elements. I'm going to let Jake kind of give you a bit more background into that model and what this is about.
So the online lesson is the middle bit of the 3 elements, and before the lesson we ask learners to do some kind of pre-learning task, and again after the lesson a similar independent task as well. Yeah. So what these look like will differ between lessons, between teachers, between different courses. It could be something as simple as watching a video just to get a bit of background information to introduce the topic that's going to be covered that day. It could be a quiz just to check what they already know about that topic. All kinds of different things, but it's important that they do those pre-learning activities so that they go into the lesson at least having a bit of an understanding about the topic that's going to be covered. Equally, at the end of the session, there's what we call a consolidation task. So this is something that just wraps up the lesson for the learner for that day. It helps them to sort of get their thoughts in order and just to identify if there are any gaps that they still need clarifying. Your Teams has got some great features, and one of them is a chat feature and conversation areas, so that they can pose questions to teachers and to colleagues as well, to peers in the class. Very often a classmate might respond, with an answer if they're not understanding something.
Okay, yeah, so in a nutshell, we do have a model. Our teachers are really, really skilled now in this online delivery. We are at the forefront, literally nationally, of online learning and using Teams for online learning. So you should hopefully be seeing some really good examples of what's happening there. And the last thing we're just going to touch on now is about supporting your son or daughter by giving them the best home learning space that is available to you. And obviously that's different in everybody's houses. So what are some key tips there, Jay?
So I think that it's important, if you can, just to encourage your sons or daughters to turn on cameras if they have a device which enables use of cameras. That's important and for lots and lots of reasons. One is just to have a basic check on well-being. It's good for us to to come to see our learners and just to check that they're okay. It's also for engagement, you know, seeing somebody is much better than just listening to somebody. So using mics, using cameras is important. But obviously we understand that everybody's spaces are different, and there are some features in Teams and the solutions that we have where you can change the background, what's behind you, so you can blur your background or put a customized image behind you, so that just takes away anything that might be already behind there. And the final thing I would say, you can support your sons and daughters by helping to provide some kind of quiet or relatively quiet space in the home where they can communicate, where they can really concentrate on their learning, and if they want to turn their mics on, there's not a lot of background noise.
Yeah, so I think it is about just having those conversations with them to see what might be the best situation for them to learn. I think that's about it. I'm just going to go through those 5 points again. So point number 1, timetables. Make sure you know when all the learning for your son or daughter is happening. 2, make sure you ask them if they are confident accessing the online session. Do they know how to do it? 3, ask them if they're comfortable engaging with the learning. What kind of things are they doing? That's really important. 4, ask them if they have engaged in any pre-learning or consolidation tasks. That is really important as well. And 5, think about that space at home as to how and when they can what's the best situation for them at home. Okay, I think that about wraps us up. So it's time for us to hand over now to Mark and Becky, who are going to talk to you about catch up to education. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome to this evening's ParentAID webinar on the CUTE programme, which is Catch Up to Education. My name is Mark Anthony Jones and I'm the Head of Faculty for Academic Studies. I'll be taking the next 10 minutes to walk you through an overview of the CUTE programme. Specifically, we're going to look at the following things: the importance of closing the skills gaps which have been borne about by the fact that some young individuals have not accessed education between March and September. Give you a brief overview of what the Catch Up to Education programme is about, how your sons or daughters will be able to access the CUTE programme, how long it will last, and importantly, what else you can do to support from home, and then finally, a little bit about the evidence between engagement in programs like this and English and Maths Extra and the educational outcomes of young individuals. If we go back to January or February of this year, most students had a very clear pathway. It was they would finish their year 11, complete all their examinations, build important skills and knowledge that would help them to move on to the next level of study, and hopefully then in the summer secure grade 4s. And as we sadly know, very few of those things happened, so much so that some students didn't actually receive any formal education from March onwards. As a consequence of that, we've got students who have now started college if they're excited about their new academic or vocational course, but they may well have skills gaps which exist from not being educated over the last 6 months. Their pathways are certainly not as clear as they had anticipated back in the January and February. So the CUTE programme is about putting the support in place to get them back on track, back on the right pathway, in order to ensure that they succeed on their new vocational or academic qualification. The 16 to 19 fund is a 96 million one-off pot of funding for 2020-21 and is ring-fenced for schools and colleges much like ourselves. The funding is being provided to support small group tuition for students in English, Maths and other courses where learning has been disrupted because of the COVID-19 virus. In line with our values, Get CUTE will be a visionary and innovative programme providing tailored support to students to enable them to close the gaps in their knowledge and understanding. We are committed to ensuring that every learner makes excellent progress and that the most disadvantaged get access to a first class. We'll be using a wide range of tools in order to support your son or daughter as they join us on the CUTE programme. The Pearson Revise system is one such example. It starts with a diagnostic tool that essentially breaks down the syllabus into small chunks, a knowledge checker as sorts. As you can see by the examples here, if your son or daughter were to get that question wrong, it then starts to pinpoint them towards resources where they can start to consolidate their knowledge further. This is the matching chart. From there, they can go back and do a catch-up plan, which will allow them to be able to identify the things they need to work on over the next few weeks. You can help them with this. Again, it's practice, practice, practice. There are also some excellent supporting applications out there. Pearson Revise app is one such thing. The students can consolidate their work whilst on the bus. Anytime they have 5 or 10 minutes, log on to the app, practice the questions. Once they have completed the unit, they can then send these scores to the teacher in advance of their next catch-up session. This will allow them and you to start to close the gaps, use their diagnostic tools in order to identify what's the thing they need to practice it, remedy it, and then move on to the next one. Learners will be assessed on entry to the programme to ensure that the support sessions are truly bespoke. Students will need to complete a referral form that will be given to them by their tutors, and this will assess their overall suitability for the programme and allow us to model a tailored package of support over the next couple of months. There will be an initial diagnostic that upon completion will allow the small group sessions to begin. More specific details will be posted to the learners over the next week. We do, however, require a number of things from the learners before they can begin. They must be attending at least 85% of their current English and Maths sessions and core vocational or academic programme. They must continue to demonstrate positive commitment to the extra tuition sessions. Places will be limited and priority will rightly be given to those who show this full commitment. As we will find out later, attendance to these courses and small group sessions really do make the difference. So, how long will the CUTE programme last? Well, eligible learners will receive 5 hours of small group tuition over the course of the academic year with an English and Maths specialist, handpicked from our existing members of staff because of their skills and expertise. There will be 5 hours of support that will be broken down into blocks of approximately half an hour to 1 hour. Learners will be grouped into small groups that are no larger than 5 to receive this bespoke support. The Get CUTE programme will run in 2 cycles, the first starting after the October half term and the second post-Christmas. For the learners to be eligible for the Get CUTE programme, not only do they have to have full attendance and fully committed to the programme, but it's essential that they must have achieved a grade 4 or less in their GCSE Maths or English. I recall my own daughter's struggles with GCSE Maths, so perfectly understand how important it is to have a relationship with your son or daughter and to support them through this difficult and challenging time. First thing you can do is sit down and ask them about their diagnostic test. What did it say that they can do, and what did it identify that they could not do? Where were the specific gaps in their skills and knowledge? From there, how is the individual going to go about filling those gaps? The teacher will sit down and start to develop an action plan which will identify the things which they need to practice. You can sit down with your son or daughter and absolutely must encourage them to practice again and again and again. But do this in a collaborative manner. Learn together, learn from the mistakes, but ultimately keep returning back to that initial diagnostic. Encourage your son or daughter to reflect upon the progress that they're making, no matter how small that may be, and complete this cycle all the way throughout the 5 weeks that they will be on the CUTE programme. You should see across those 5 to 6 weeks them making a great deal of academic progress. Hopefully it won't surprise you to know that there's an almost direct one-to-one correlation between the students' attendance on their core English and Maths programme, but also support functions like the catch-up to education system. Where students attend 85–90% of their lessons and they engage positively and proactively by practicing, they more often than not will absolutely pass and make great progress. So your support in helping us to ensure that your son or daughter maximizes the amount of progress they can make this year is essential, and we thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to tonight's webinar, and please don't forget to join us this time next week. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good evening.